This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
I create space to go to the future. There will be days like how I actually structure my work schedule. I need quiet time to think. That gives me futuristic, and I'll deal with like current issues that are immediate that I need to make decisions on. I got like 2 hands in today and my feet down on the ground. Like my feet are in the ground for today and 2 hands are moving forward to the rest of the business.
From Fayetteville to the footy front office, right? I mean, this is a pretty good run here, and I'm not surprised. I've had a chance to know my guest today. I bet you we're going on 1,000 days now. We met, I think in Denver. I had a chance to speak at Sports Business Journal. We hit it off, but you've been 15 years now in the industry. My guest, she's got some titles. She's got some accolades, right? Sports Business Journal, 40 under 40, Essence Power 40 class of 2023. Currently serving as president of business operations for DC United. That's my old OG squad. You and I have been swapping cities. Like you had SoCal, I was in the DMV, and then we rotated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I got to start with, what do you miss the most about Southern California? And there's an and. What do you love the most about the DMV?
I miss the most 75 and sunny 90% of the time.
These are facts.
I know it's been a little different lately, and I miss the food.
Wow, really?
I know people might think it's different, but like, I love a good green juice. I love all the things, all like the healthy options you can find absolutely everywhere at every corner. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. You know, I my brain first went because when I think of the food scene, I feel like DC has finally gotten their act together. I'm thinking about the Wharf.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I hear you on that, and like our food truck scene out here, it's nonstop. It's nonstop. All right,
there's no better tacos. Like.
Yeah, tacos we've got on lockdown for sure. I should ask you, do you prefer the breakfast taco or the dinner taco?
Dinner taco, late night, anytime.
All right, that's fair. What do you love the most about DC? And to be fair, like, you know, I missed it the first time around. Like, you actually started at Monumental. I don't know if you started at Monumental. You did time there, right?
I did about almost 3 years at Monumental. I think what I love about DC, it's kind of crazy. It's like I say, I love 75 and sunny. I love the change of the weather that happens at times. And then I also love, like, I think DC is a place that is so, and it's like an interesting place because so much of what happens in our world happens outside, like inside of DC.
Totally.
And I think the power of the city is something that also intrigues me. And so that part to me is very intriguing. And thinking about sport and being in the nation's capital, I think there's a really cool, unique story and ability to be in this space at this time.
Well, I'll say growing up there, it was a unique time to be there.
Yeah.
You know, for me, back, you know, when things were in black and white, when I was growing up in the DMV area, I love that our news was international news. We didn't have 27 screens. There was 3 stations, but our news was international news. Like, that's what we grew up with. And look, I live in San Diego. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't need to know that the panda is okay. Like, that is like the leading story. And I get it. In some ways, it's now international relations because we just got the pandas back and China's involved. But you're so spot on that, although I'm curious, do you sense now that you've been there a while, does it feel like a carousel of people coming in and out depending on who's in the White House?
It does. Like, it's a very different city. I lived here during my first time here. I lived here during the second Obama administration when Obama was in the second term. And then coming back here now, it does feel different. Like, the city does have some change along with that. I think obviously a lot of people's work and what they do is impacted by that. So you do feel some of those changes in the city.
So I left off one very important title, which is first Black female MLS team president. Does that ever get old hearing that?
You know what? At this point, I'm going to just keep going with it. No.
What does it mean to you?
It means a lot. It means, for a young girl that you talked about coming from Fayetteville, North Carolina, that absolutely loves this industry and wanted to be somebody that had an impact on the industry in multiple ways, not just because I'm Black and a female, but to be a leader in this industry from a business perspective has always been a dream of mine. And so it happens to be that I'm a Black woman that gets to do that and be one of the first to ever do it. I take a lot of pride in that. I think it shows my commitment to the work. I think it shows not only change for the industry, but change for what's possible for everybody else. So I take pride in it. I do.
So if we had a time machine
Mhm.
and we go back to Danita growing up in Fayetteville,
Yeah.
and people would ask you what you wanted to be when you grew up, did you know like this was your path?
I didn't know till college, honestly. When I was younger, I used to think I wanted to be a doctor. I remember taking nursing classes in high school and things like that. And I quickly learned, I was like, I can't remember all this. I was like, maybe this is not for me. I was like, I don't know about this. And the thing that I loved the most and that grew up in my house was sports. And it was something that it was a natural fit for me. And so when I realized that I didn't have to necessarily be an athlete on the field or pitch or, on the court, because I love basketball, and I realized that I could work in the front office and still be close to what I love, I was like, oh, I think we might have something.
Did you play growing up or did your family play?
Yeah, I played basketball growing up, mainly just in middle school and high school. And then my dad, he played like softball, he played football, ran track when he was in school. So, and my brother played sports as well. So it was a lot of their influence that really did it for me.
And you said like as you got to college, you're like, wait a minute, this is not a bad path. Like, how did you get into sports?
It was, it's so funny. You think about like the college fairs you go to and things of that nature. I think I was at a college fair or something and at school, and I found the brochure for my college, which was Western Carolina University. And you know how you look through the degrees and the programs, and there was a program in there called sports management. Didn't even know you could get your degree in it at that point. And it was a coaching program. And so when I applied to school, I applied to them and two other schools. And I only applied to like three colleges. And I just was like, I never knew that you could get your degree in it. And so I got in and that's what I went for.
And when as off you go here, I
Mhm.
mean, LA is a long ways away, also, by the way, from Fayetteville. So at what point is it like the light switch goes off and you're just 2 feet in and let's see where this crazy journey takes me?
I actually think it happened for me really early. When I was in Fayetteville, my internship was with the Fayetteville Patriots, which was my first job with the G League. And I did my internship and then it turned into a full-time job. And the team ended up folding as the G League was getting started. It was just those times where we were trying to figure out what markets it all worked in. But my leap of faith happened early. It was after that job, I actually moved to California the first time. And I went to help do a startup G League team in Bakersfield, California. So I feel like the moment I left home after my first job was me going 2 feet in because I moved across the country with barely nothing and was like, I'm going to go for it and we'll see where it takes me.
I mean, I love this statistic. I actually wonder if it holds. It's been a while since I've like, fiddled around with this one, but I had read somewhere that 50% of the US population, so you got 170 million people that live 50 miles from where they're born. So the apple really doesn't fall far for the tree for one of two. And here you are going on an adventure. And it's probably why we see eye to eye and a lot of stuff. Like I love DC, but went to school in upstate New York, television radio major. I'm certainly not going back to DC for that, right? Like it was New York or LA and then ended up in the city, learned and I think the early years for me, it's like learning how to swim. I'm survival mode. It's just like stay, survive, advance. Everything is March Madness. Survive, advance, survive, advance, survive, advance. And wow, 15, 20 years of doing that, you look back and start auditing the decisions you made. And now I'm like, wow, that was courageous of me to move to New York City. It was courageous of me to move to San Diego. And, I'm proud of myself for those things. Like, you kind of have an important job here. Like, can you put life on pause, call time out, and like reflect? Or when you're in it, you're just in it.
Yeah. You know, I've learned how to do that more now. I think before I was in it, right? And in it in a way where I couldn't see outside. Like it's like that tunnel vision. But now for me to be in it at this level and for me to do the work, I have to continue to step outside and see it. Right. And so I'm really conscious of stepping away and looking at the bigger picture when needed. Cause I can be in go mode, but like if I'm always connected to my why or, the decisions I make or all of those things, it helps me stay in it. And so if I lose connectivity to that by not being able to step away for a moment, then how do I keep my drive?
So this is a two-parter. One, and I don't like the word balance. I don't, that's not me. I love what I do, but I hear you on, there's got to be a better version of this word. Like I'm in it, I step away. But it's all more integrated. If I'm working a weekend, I'm working a weekend, right? But what do you do? How do you get away? What does that look like for you? And then two, where could you be better? Where do you think I'm like, oh, this is still messy?
So I get away. I'll have my cutoffs. Like I'll cut it off for a minute and be like, I'm gonna go offline. I really will. And I do that because I need to refresh my brain in order to do the work. I just have to. Like if I'm always looking at it, it's so funny. Like this weekend, as an example, I had a very quiet weekend, which I typically go. And probably for the last 4 months, I've been going 7 days a week. If I could add an eighth, you could have probably added it in there, right? And Saturday and Sunday, I kind of just sat back for a while. And I hadn't done that in a while. This morning when I woke up, I wrote a full plan for the launch of something that we're doing in about 30 days. And I wrote it in my phone in about 20 minutes. And it's a strategic plan to accomplish something that we need to do here. That's a big feat for us. But because I sat and cleared my mind for a moment and just took my mind away, I literally woke up. When I tell you, woke up, typed it all up, all the notes, presented it in my 9:30 meeting, uploaded it, and said, this is how we're moving forward for the next month to get this done. That's because I know I gave my mind a break. So those are the things I do to keep myself going.
All right, and where are we like, all right, we could be better, Danita?
Doing that more often.
Yeah.
And then I think doing it more often. And I think the other thing I want to get better at is like, I am tough on myself, right? So not being so hard on myself in moments when it's not quite what I want and how not to, I don't really panic as much as I used to, but I know how critical I could be of self, of effort and ability to execute. And so trying to just be better in that and how I talk to myself in those moments is definitely something I can do.
Yeah, you're talking about a topic the last 3 years. Me and a couple other writers have been talking about self-talk, and
Yeah.
so we have a new book coming. It's probably a year away, but we think we're calling it Head of Mentals,
Hmm.
and it's like fundamentals for your head. And I'm right there with you. Like I am a very slow runner, and I don't like running, so I have to trick myself into going and doing it. But when I'm out there, I'm constantly telling myself, like, I love you, man. Good for you, dude. Way to be out here, man. I'm not a night runner. It's like the first thing I do. So I'm like, it's starting my day with positive affirmations.
Yes.
Easy to talk about, hard to like actually accomplish. Do you have any rituals, or are you thinking about any rituals on like, do you journal? What's your
Yeah.
what's your plan?
Well, recently for the past few months, I've been doing yoga every morning, like 4 or 5 days a week. And in yoga, you're supposed to say what you're there for, like what's your mantra. And so each week I choose a different mantra. So last week my mantra was patience, right? Being patient and talking to myself about the little things throughout my day, even down to like when my family's taking a little longer to get ready and I'm like ready to go. Like, where can I have patience in my life and thinking about my approach to things? And so like this week, it's you got this, right? I have a lot of big things coming up over the next couple of months. We're finishing our season soon. And so in my mind, my mantra right now is you got this. And so, but my overall thing that I say to myself is you have everything you need within you. All you have to do is unlock it. And that power lies within. And, I got that from somebody told me that years ago. And so whenever I feel discouraged or if I feel like I don't have the ability to, all I have to do is unlock that piece of me to be able. And so that's part of my self-talk and mantras to myself.
I love that. That's so good. Okay, let's talk about the opposite of patience. Like you talked about go mode, right?
Yeah.
So you have this go mode side of you. Take a look at the table. They're kind of misleading right now. You're 4 points out of the playoff race, right? And if I'm getting my numbers right, the last 3 games you picked up 7 points, right? 2-0-1,
Really? Yeah.
right? So you guys are like right there. Like how for you as someone that is it frustrating? Is it like let's go? Is it hey I can only control so much? Like I got to control what's off the pitch. I'm curious. Like how do you make an impact from your seat right now with the team?
Yeah. I definitely am leaning into, I've always been, I control what's I can control. Right. And what I do for me is, and it's funny, I had this whole conversation with like our marketing comms group. It's about positioning. What are our players doing to get better? What are they doing to compete? How are we showcasing that? How are we uplifting them? And how are we creating great environment for them? And that's stuff that we can have an impact on from a business side, whether it's taking them out to a dinner or events, getting them engaged with kids, inspiring them about why this matters, right? And what's their connectivity, not only back to DC, but they're fans that do love and encourage them and can see that. And then at the same time, showcasing that to our fans, right? So we're showing them in their practices, we're showing what they're doing to get the work done, that they are putting that effort in. And sometimes people just need those reminders and that look behind the curtain to feel connected still and understand that there's still a drive. Win or lose, they're athletes and they want to compete.
All right, so let's say I brought my camera crew over there. We're going to go behind the curtain on the Danita Johnson show. So we've got a new
Yeah.
show we're launching.
Yeah.
What is there like? Take us behind the scenes. What does your day job look like? What's the day to day look like for you?
Yeah. A lot of my day job is interacting with people, right? It's interacting with my staff, interacting with outside people that we do work with. Like it's a lot of that, right? And it's a lot of how am I encouraging, talking to them, walking through process, procedure, plans, and execution. Like I get to be a different kind of coach from behind my desk, but more in front of my desk because typically don't like to sit back there all the time. But I get to be that kind of coach. I get to coach them in their careers and life in a different type of way. So my day to day is that is being a coach and a team player with my team. In addition, my day other side is strategy, right? How am I thinking about the bigger picture of our business? How am I thinking about how are we constantly evolving and changing? And what's the future look like? Because in the present, we're just acting on what I already thought about in the future previously. And so now it's what's ahead. And so I really try to think about our business from a holistic standpoint, both short term and long term, and activate across the board where I can.
A lot of cities throw around the word community. DC is a community. Like it is. This is a fact. It is a community. Talk to me about the work you guys are doing and how do you. And again, also maybe the hard question is, I know there's a lot of energy about some of the other teams in town.
Yep.
Right, with Josh Harris and the Commanders, like you're fighting for attention and eyeballs. Is it good that sports in DC is getting at is this like a good thing or like how do we carve out our space?
I love it. That's part of the challenge. That's what excites me, right? It's like we're all neighbors because it's a small city when you really get into DC, right? You can get most places pretty quickly from whether you're going to Commanders, we're across the street from Nats Park, we're less than 10 minutes from Capital One Arena. Like all those pieces are right here. So it's actually kind of fun because it thinks, how do you get to be innovative? How do you tell your story in a crowded market that's really of a small size? And so I like that challenge. I like going out and being part of different events. It was so funny. I did an event a few weeks ago and the mayor was there and she turned to one of our partners and said, that woman is everywhere. Because it was in an unexpected place, right? That typically you wouldn't see one of the sports teams in the presence in which we made. But we understand what that means to show up for our community beyond sport. And that's the fun part. We just launched a program that started today with the Twinning Project that helps work with incarcerated inmates and helping them as they get ready to transition from a community standpoint. We work with Urban League here and we had them come in and intern with us and we carved out certain spots in our internship program for Urban League. And we actually just hired one of the young women that came out of Urban League to be a part of our staff. So it's a really fun thing that we not only get to help create job opportunities, we get to impact community on multiple levels, and we get to show up and be a good steward. Like it's the power of sport. It's part of the reason beyond what you see on the field and the pitch that, what you see on the field is this.
If I'm not careful, you're going to give me I don't think it's personal, by the way, but you could give me a canned answer on this. And I'd love for you to really try to nail your gold medal. So like, I know there's a lot of stuff you love about the gig, but if you had to pick the one thing that you love, what's your answer?
The impact I can have on people. Like for me, I've done a lot in a little bit of time, and there's always more. But the impact I can have on other people to leave this industry better, that's my favorite thing. So for a staff person or anybody to stay a little bit longer in the industry, to enjoy the experience, that will spread into everything else across the business. But my impact I can have on them and how they see this, if I could help open their eyes to the industry, it's top notch for me.
So we've done we've done a little bit of work together over the years, which I'm grateful for. One of the things that we dabbled in near the end of last year were the DCUs. Those still around?
They're still alive and well.
All right, talk me through what those are, because people are like, what's a DCU?
Yeah, no, Ryan, working with you was great on that because I think at that point we were trying to define who we were and what it meant to be a part of this organization. And I feel like so many people, we kind of were like tossing so many things. And when we came in and we talked about this and worked with you on this, it became DCU, determined, committed, united. And being able to think about how we could be determined in the work in which we do, committed to it, and work on a united front and able to uplift this organization and community is what we discovered. It actually sits in our email signatures and something that we often do. We carry it on these little cards that we have for every employee. These are things that really help connect us. And at the end of the day, it's my ask of my people. Be that.
I'm just head nodding over here because I think it's people don't do the work, right? They just don't do the work to get down to like what matters most. But then to hear that you've taken it to the next level and you've operationalized it is very, very cool. All right, let's talk through each one of those for you.
Yeah.
So where are you still determined?
I want this to be one of the best clubs, not only in MLS, but in sports, hands down. We are building this, and we are building not only Major League Soccer and DC United, but Audi Field and what we're doing from a concert and event space. I'm really, really determined to show what's possible. We actually just hosted our first music festival a couple of weeks ago. So I sit very close to this determined effort to show that this is possible. We're one of the oldest clubs in MLS, if not the oldest club in MLS. We still got it.
Yeah. Well, give me more on the Audi Field thing, because I know there's been a lot of work, the build up to it, making it a premier destination, not just for sports, but in entertainment. Like, what are the goals you're working towards there?
Yeah. But one of the things this past year, we just launched our concert business. We just did our first festival, Broccoli City, a 2-day music festival in partnership with Live Nation in Broccoli City. So for our first show in our building, not to do a typical regular 4-hour show, to straight to a 2-day full music festival was definitely a challenge, but we executed it and we knew it was possible. So doing shows is going to be big for us, more international events. And so that will be, and then also like other community-based events that we're able to do in the stadium.
All right, let's go to the C of DCU. So committed.
Yeah.
Curious. Yeah, curious. Yeah, this is both for, well, look, because committed, you could talk about you. Obviously, you're committed, right? But like, sometimes it's easy to talk commitment and hard to show, like investments that need to be made. Like we're committed. I'm sure Audi Field, the investment in that is not small.
Yes.
So talk to me about both for you and the clubs.
I think for me, it's just committed to the work, like committed to showing up every day as my best self, to be somebody that can lead this organization that not only my staff can be proud of, I can be proud of, and they can be proud across the industry of what we're doing. I think for us, from an organizational standpoint, we're committed to change, right? We're committed to not being what we were just yesterday, and each day committed to getting a little bit better. My morning meeting today was literally our traditional sales and marketing meeting turned into a process and procedure meeting of how we could become more efficient, right? That's a level of commitment where we could have just went through our list like we always do, but we're always looking to see how can we be better? How can we change process? How can we, get to that next level? And I think that mindset of all those to have that type of dialogue versus feeling like we just got to do the checklist, right? But are we committed to making it better and more efficient? That's how we are.
All right, and then United. So this one's a toughie.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to say.
It is. I read something not too long ago that says we can sit in a room and we can disagree all day, but when we walk out that room, we walk out that room together. That is what I expect from my people. Because there's going to be times where we have differences. There's going to be times where they're not going to get along. Trust me. And you go into parent mode as a leader, right? And you're like, this is not what I signed up for today, right? But the thing is this, at the end of the day, we got to be united. So whatever disagreements we may have, whatever things we may align on, we have to find ways to unite. Because at the end of the day, we can't do this alone and we need each other. So I think on a united piece, the united is a consistent effort. It's a consistent effort through action, consistent effort through communication, and consistency that helps drive us to be united. And without that, we can't.
What about the community? I mean, obviously, winning helps, right? Do you feel like, I guess every time you have an opportunity to bring people together, I mean, that's the thing I love most about sports is it is the best mental health remedy, especially when your team's winning. But like, it's the best, like just this little dose of escapism that we need, right? And it is that little balancing act before you go back to whatever it is that you come from. So, how do you go about creating unity inside DC?
I think for us, it is about winning at times, right? You want to do that. You want to see success on the pitch, but I think it's also about celebrating multiple levels of success, right? So creating like a winning culture could be the fact that, you know what, we won on closing out a deal. We won on launching a new program. And so what we do is we do like these champagne toasts for different monumental moments for us as an organization. It doesn't always have to be a winning Tuesday, right? That's one of the pieces, but it can be great. Our events team did this. Our marketing team helped uplift this. Our sales team did this. Let's celebrate the moment throughout. And I think that really does help us.
All right, let's say that Danita Johnson is talking to Danita Johnson, the 19-year-old Danita Johnson. So you
Oh,
today, yeah, and you and you know that Danita.
yeah.
What would you tell her?
First and foremost, hold your head up, right? Hold your head up. Like you got a journey that's going to happen, but you can't see it looking down. So to the old me, I think about my head being down to my head sitting up now. And that took confidence and time. And I think in the beginning of the journey, when we're nervous, scared, all the things, sometimes we need to hold our head up to see what's in front of us. And so to my 19-year-old self, I would say just that. And don't be afraid what's ahead. There will be challenges. There will be ups and downs, and you may not always know the answers, and that's perfectly okay. But as long as you hold your head up and you keep looking ahead, you'll be able to move forward.
So when you say this in your mind, do you visualize it as is it like a written note? Is it an email? Did you call her? What,
Yeah, it's
which,
funny. It's almost like I see myself talking to myself. You know how people say, like, you
yeah.
hear that? It would definitely be it would be through voice. It would be a call. It would be a call. Because I think sometimes I love written notes, I love the emails, all that. But when you hear the true passion and sound in somebody's voice, it resonates with you in a different way that can drive motivation and connectivity. So I would say voice.
Would your 19-year-old self respond with, "You don't know me," but of course you do. But like, how would your 19-year-old respond?
I think it would be definitely more of a like fear and unknown response, like a shyness versus a confidence of, okay, I'm gonna hold my head up. More like, are you sure that's what I should do? It would be like a little bit of questioning. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of tiptoeing into fear. There's this famous proverb that fear and courage are kin. Like, you can't get to the courageous move without ballooning it through fear, really, and going through fear. So, as I think about my little step and repeat behind me. We've got our fancy new tagline of Brave What's Hard. When you think about what's hard right now for you, like what is the hardest or one of the hardest things you're navigating at the day job?
I think it's just that extra push. Like we're so close to being this other organization. I don't say other, evolving, right? So what's hard right now is like getting people to go with you to that next level, right? Getting them past their own fears because you see what's possible and you do it in tight timelines. So it's like this extra like intensity that comes along with it. So I think for me is that like getting through this hard part is like I got to get these people to go with me. Like we got to get there and we got to get there faster than I've ever wanted to get there. And I know it's more possible than I've ever believed, which pulls out my drive and pulls out like a different level of like pressure in a good way, I think. But others may say something different.
Well, again, I think this is part of leadership is that you see a path, right? Your job is to find the path.
Mhm.
But sometimes if you're just on the team, you're like, what is this woman talking about? Right? Like someone's listening on the team to the podcast,
Yeah.
right? They're what's up, team? I miss you. Right?
Yeah.
Like someone's listening. So like, how do you make sure that they feel safe enough, which is a funny word to use
It's
on
the
the
real word.
cruise, right? To come along for the ride.
Yeah. It goes back to my personal things. We talk about DCU as the determined, committed, united, and I kind of mentioned it in the united, but my personal is consistency, commitment, communication. Those are mine. That's my three C's, right? I got to consistently show up for them. I got to develop my communication skills to be able to reach them, talk to them, tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. And I have got to be committed to that day in and day out because any day that I'm off my game, and I know we're all human, it impacts them. And so I have to show up at my best. But that also goes back to what you noted earlier. It's why I get up at 5 a.m. and I go to yoga at 6 so that I can then have my mind in the best place to walk in this door and do things like that to take care of myself, to show up as my best for them.
So life can be like really, really small at times, and it could be really, really big. And to put this into footy terms, like you have a job to do.
Yep.
Sometimes it's as simple as how to get the most out of one other person or
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But yet 2026 is coming. There is a World Cup that is coming onto American soil, right? And like that is a massive opportunity to grow the game here. Like not small, but yet you have a job to do. Like you got to stay focused on. So like, how do you? Where's the balance? Do you have two hands in today? Are you like one hand in today, one hand in tomorrow? Like what? Keep it real with me. Like how are you
Yeah.
navigating all this?
I create space to go to the future. So there will be days like how I actually structure my work schedule, that I structure days of open time for me as think time. And I do that on purpose. I need quiet time to think. That gives me futuristic, and I'll deal with like current issues that are immediate that I need to make decisions on. One of the things I think happens in your career as you do this more, you become more decisive. You can make faster decisions on like the day-to-day operations of the business more efficiently. So for me, I got like two hands in today and my feet down on the ground. Like my feet are in the ground for today and two hands are moving forward to the rest of the business. So that's what I would say.
Okay.
Is what I would probably say how I'm functioning with that. And I what I don't, and this is kind of like that pressure I put on myself, I don't take it lightly about what's about to happen in the next 2 years in this. So there's times where you're going to see me be more aggressive and more like, figure it out. Let's go. Let's move. But we all need to learn in that, just like we were being coached in the sport. You got to push a little bit to get some things done. But it's going to help in those other moments because they're going to learn.
All right. So let's say for one sec you get a phone call.
Okay.
Okay. And it's you. And now you're you today.
Mm-hmm.
You know where this is going now. On the
Thank you.
other end of the line, and this is a clear tell that we don't give the questions out on the podcast.
I
Right?
love it.
All right. So on the other end of the line is Danita Johnson. It's 2 decades from now. I won't give up any ages. It's 2 decades from now. What does she say to this Danita Johnson?
to this Danita Johnson, it's I'm proud of you. Yeah. I think it's that. Like she tells her, I'm proud of the foundation you laid for me to sit here 20 years later. That at a point in a time where your life was in a different place, where you could run at a different pace, you could do things differently and maneuver differently, you did. And you weren't afraid. You were courageous in what you did. Therefore, here I sit 20 plus years later in a different space. In a different space for me that I would say creates a different level of freedom, more time with family, an ability to maneuver and impact others in a new way.
Well, we're not done yet, but I want to thank you for letting us dance a little today, because I know we had a little time machine and we went forward and we went backwards. But I always think if someone has stayed along and they've listened 40 minutes in, obviously they're engaged in the conversation, right? They're curious. They're curious. Maybe they're curious about sports. They're curious about, like, what does the path look to leadership? So I'm curious what advice you would give a listener that's on their path. And you can choose if it's, hey, you want to go, hey, young female in sports, starting her career. You can go young Black person in sports. You can go young person in sports. Permission granted to go.
I think what I would say is this journey is going to be difficult, and you're going to have some beautiful highlight moments in this. And so what I tell them is that be prepared to get through the hard. I'm looking at the back of your thing. It's like you got to learn how to brave the hard. And what happens is the hard gets easier because you brave it so many times in different formats. And that's where the courageous part comes in. So I think for me, when I look at even why we're here, what we're talking about, I think part of this is the message in which you share every single day. So my advice to them is understand hard moments you don't have to give up in. You come up against challenges, you're going to have to figure out how to get through them. You have support, whether it's a friend, a family member, a coworker, whatever it may be. Use your resources to access that, right? And then don't be afraid to take leaps of faith. If you feel something and you truly believe it can be for you, go for that. Go about it in a smart way, though. I say that because sometimes people get lost in title chasing and things like that. It was never about that. It was always about action. It was always about skill building for me to actually get to where I am. Titles will come. So don't get too lost in the weeds of that. It's about growing your skills to be able to really impact a business, to drive yourself to leadership and to have those opportunities. So go out there, be courageous, have the conversations, work through hard, and you will get there.
Danita Johnson, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I was going to say, go get a yoga class in, but it's a little late for that at this point. Right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Danita. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.